Good morning, class 4 students. This is your plants around us, part number 2. So earlier we have discussed about the various roots and the upper part of the plant in the first session. That is your shoot stem and root stem, and in the page number 40, the special roots. Okay. So here we will discuss about in this session plants and trees. Plants and trees and our forest, trees in the forest. Okay. So normally we have discussed about the topsoil erosion or soil erosion. Topsoil, that means the fertile part of your soil is called your topsoil, and that is most important. And whenever there is the soil erosion, so we normally lose the topsoil. So for the trees and the big trees in the hilly areas and in the land, we normally can save this topsoil so that we can cultivate something and we can do our agricultural work. So here, what is the purpose why we normally want to save the trees? So first thing, the trees give us fresh air. That is the oxygen that is most important in the human body. We need the fresh air. Then food, different kinds of food. That may be our regular food. That means fruits, pulses, grains. So we normally get from the food from the trees. Then shelter. For our house we normally need the timbers from the trees. Fuel. For the purpose of fuel, cooking purposes and for the heating purposes, we normally need the trees and the dried trees. Then medicine. So many kinds of medicines are prepared from the trees. So for this reason we should protect our trees. So that may be in our forest area or maybe in our local or in our home. So whenever this is the forest area, so this is all is coming under the government, and the forest department protects the trees of the forest. So they prohibited to cut the trees, and also they sometimes they look after the trees, mark the trees. And also there is the law that indicates that we shouldn't cut the trees. That is very precious. So this is looked after by the forest department. And one thing is your tribal people. Tribal people also look after the trees of the forest. Why? Because they collect the food and the medicinal plants and the livelihood they are just they are possessing from the forest area. So they collect these forest things and sell them, and this is the livelihood of the tribal people, and they never hurt the trees. Wild plants. What is the wild plants? Sometimes we are not planting the trees and they are just come out themselves. We don't need them like our berries. So berries, they need not to plant anywhere. They normally grows itself. So some berries are very useful and costly also. These berry plants also give us fruit, flowers, seeds for the useful purposes. And some wild plants or berry plants, that is called the weeds, 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 that is not useful and we have to throw them out. And sometimes we can see that in the municipality areas, in the town area, for the planting purposes, the government normally plant the trees side of the road and some parks. Why? For the fresh air and for the control of the pollution they normally plant. In the villages, the village people and the panchayat also look after the trees that is planted in the villages. So this is all about your forest area and the local government. Come to the domestic plants. What is the domestic plants? Those plants we normally plant in our home or kitchen garden or maybe in our garden. So that is very useful, like tulsi, neem tree, that is very useful. Tulsi is found in almost of all the houses of the families. And mint, that is useful for the very useful plant, that is useful for the drinking purposes. Also we normally use in curry. Then coriander and curry plant, that is also used for cooking purposes. Then mango trees, guava trees, jamun plants, these are also useful for the fruits. Flower plants, that is rose, jasmine, marigold, that is normally found in our garden. So these all these things, that the plant and trees, that is then is your forest plants, then your domestic plants, that is useful. One more thing, that is the aerial roots. Last class we have just left that aerial roots. That is, aerial roots are those roots, they can spread out and it can be a tree after touching the soil. It can be more and bigger, and after spreading their roots, they can be a bigger tree. Like that is the best example is your banyan tree. That maybe the banyan tree maybe there is no particular statement, but this can be more than 200 years ago that banyan trees are found in the forests and different kinds of places. Banyan trees are found and with the aerial roots. So why they spread so much? Because of the aerial roots, they can grow from the roots itself. So this was for today, and this chapter is also finished. In the next session, we will discuss about the new words, hard words and the exercises. Thank you. Have a nice day.